Hello and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jose.
And we've just been to see Together.
Yes.
Written and directed by Michael Shanks.
Who I've never heard of.
It's his directorial debut.
Oh, wow.
He's
Great.
Australian, so it's the second Australian horror from a promising young director that we've seen recently. The first was Bring Her Back.
Okay.
A pair of directors that was. This is a body horror. I didn't know very much going in. I'd only seen the trailer. Obviously, we never really see we never wanted to know all that much before going in. But the trailer looked really interesting. And there's a shot in the trailer of the couple's eyelashes as the faces come in close proximity, melding together, blending together. And I was thinking, is this like a dream sequence? Is this a metaphor? Spoiler, this is actually, it happens.
It's not. Yeah.
Right? This is a body horror, and this shit actually happens. The film starts with a scene of two dogs in a kind of underground cave, drinking from the same sort of big pool of water. And, then we hear barking, we hear scuffles, and when their owner goes to investigate, he sees that they have joined into one disgusting hybrid dual dog. And that sets the tone, right? This shit's actually going to happen in this film. And there will be more spoilers coming up, obviously. So we start with Dave, Franco and Alison, Brie, who are a couple who've been together for about a decade. They're 35 now, so they've been together for a lot of their lives. And they're a bit staid, they aren't having sex. Dave Franco's parents have recently died and he's been distant since that. His friend, he's a musician and he used to be attached to a label and now he's not. And his friends say that, when you two got together, we thought you'd make her cooler, but she just made you lamer. But she's got a new job teaching at a school in the countryside, like 2 hours away from the city. So they're going to leave all their friends. They're not going to see them again. They're moving out there. He hasn't got a driving license, which plays a part because he feels really trapped. He's at her kind of beck and call, really. She's kind of the breadwinner, or at least she has the more stable career. And he has to kind of live to her schedule. So there's a power imbalance going on. And they love each other, but what's the status of their relationship? It's kind of shaky. And when they go on an adventure in the area around their house, they end up trapped in that cave. They end up drinking from the same pool. And so pretty soon they're going to end up like those dogs. I thought this was one of the best, most interesting, funniest horrors I've seen in a while. I really enjoyed it.
I think it's one of the best films that we've seen in a while, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought, the imagery was like wonderfully inventive. Yeah, and the film was truly creepy and scary. Yeah, like it, I was into it.
Yeah.
It was, it was really interestingly shot. It's kind of a visually interesting film. Yeah, all of those shots of David Franco from the floor, right? Like, I thought it was wonderful, and I thought it was thematically. Well, it's a bit naff, right? I'm not saying it's a great movie, right? Because kind of this theme where they say, well, Plato says that basically we were born with 2 faces and 4 arms and 4 legs, and Zeus was scared and he separated them, and all people are now all attempting to find that other half. That is a very naff kind of idea, but a very ancient, yeah.
And an interesting motivation for that villainous aspect.
Sure. So the film does act as a kind of metaphor, for people and relationships and kind of what binds them and what separates them and the pull, that things have for each other. So I kind of, I really loved it, actually.
I mean, I think it's a film about fear of commitment.
Of course.
I
Yes,
mean, that's like fundamentally the thing that's going on here is, these people, they do love each other, but they have a very hard time together. And when she proposes to him, he gives the worst answer he possibly could, which is to stand there stunned in front of everybody and then try and say yes, and it doesn't happen. And for a lot of the sort of start of the film, in fact for just a lot of the film, you're kind of thinking, oh god, this really makes me question sort of, I don't know, like question like what are relationships about and are they worth it, and this is so scary. Like it makes the idea of relationships kind of scary.
Terrifying.
I mean, actually I kind of thought, I wondered whether you would actually get on with it thematically, because I thought it's a film which for a very long time, until it reaches that interesting kind of romantic ending where they decide to blend together, I thought Jose might really hate this because it's a film that sees human connection as something to be scared of.
Oh no, I understand that only too well. I mean, it is scary. Of course, it's scary. Yeah, no, I understood that perfectly, and it worked on me perfectly, and yeah, it is understandable. I mean, I think commitment is scary, though. I don't know if the film. So one of the interesting things about the way that the film handles it is that you're never in doubt that they love each other, right? Whereas I think the reason why commitment is scary, is because you don't trust the other person. Yeah, you don't trust the other person to behave as you do, or to want from the relationship what you want, or to be with you, in the relationship, to kind of keep their promise. There's always a doubt, about the other person. And this is so interesting because there is no doubt about the other person. I mean, there's a doubt about, should they be together? Are they trapping each other? There's all those questions that I think are so interesting in the film. But I don't think, or I never felt that there was a question that they loved each other.
I don't think that, and there was never a question to me about the possibility that one would cheat on the other.
No.
But I did, when they're asking questions, do you love me? And they're thinking about it themselves, you do feel they are asking those questions of themselves and don't really have answers to them at that point. It is up in the air, and the whole film is about ultimately resolving that into, no, I do love you, and we are going to be together, and in this case, it means making the ultimate commitment, which is becoming part of your body.
I liked all of that.
So I think you have to ask questions of whether they love each other or to what degree they love each other before it resolves.
Well, I think the film is more so I suppose what I'm trying to say is that the film is more interesting than that. Because I think there is no question in my mind that they love each other. The question is, do they want to continue with a life together? Which is different. So if a couple don't love each other and they break up, in a way, it's kind of simpler, right? But often it happens that couples do love each other and they break up anyways, because, I don't know, lifestyle choices, differences in career, one goes to live off in Australia because the career, calls them there or whatever, right? So I think the film is very, very interesting, or it adds a layer of complication. Because the question of whether they will continue in a relationship is absolutely there, right? But it has the foundation that they do love each other. So the relationship won't break up because there's somebody they fancy more, or they're waiting for someone better to come along, or there are different issues at work in this, which I think are more interesting issues.
All the body horror imagery is incredibly effective.
Yes.
I mean, incredible prosthetics, and I'm sure, augmented by any amount of computer-generated augmentation. You really feel the physicality of their bodies joining together. When their arms slide inside each other and they can't get them apart. I mean, the film...
Even though it looks very fake.
Well, it does.
It looks like a sack of flour with 2 arms in it.
But it does really work for me.
But it works,
And I think the performances really sell it as well. Even Dave Franco. Dave Franco's not a great actor. And
I like him very much in this.
But I did like him. Although I did find him a little bit unsubtle, I suppose.
No, I like him very much.
But he does work for me.
I mean, I think it's kind of the first time that I've seen him... so before we went to the movie, we were discussing whether he was sexy. And I've always found him really likable, but not sexy. Whereas his brother, I've always found sexy, though not always likable, if you know what I mean, right? They're separate things. But actually, I think he's sexy in this movie, and likable. And it's almost the first time, in my experience of watching him, that he comes across as a man rather than a youth, So he's got a weightiness in this role. And I like both of them very much, really. I think they're very effective together.
They're married in real life, Dave Franco and Alison Brie, And although we were informed of that before seeing the film, it wasn't something that was on my mind at all during the film. Which sometimes, remember Irreversible?
Yes.
Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci were married.
Yes.
At the time, and that really plays into that film. Or at least I remember it doing so when I saw it.
Yes.
Here, I don't think it did, or it didn't feel. I mean, maybe people who are
just didn't know.
Well, yeah, maybe people who know the relationship or invested in the people, maybe it does play into it. So, just for me, I guess it didn't. I mean, I don't think, but I think that is interesting about the two of them is that they're comic actors. It's not to say they haven't done drama; they have, but they're known for comedy. They've played in comedy, and the film has lots of comedy in it. The film is almost structured in some parts as a comedy, or at least it takes the time to make jokes, and they're good jokes that work. And it's really interesting. I mean, I think there's two things that make this really distinct from a lot of horror that I've seen recently. And one is that it has so much good comedy, and it really plays it for laughs. It understands where to get laughs and where to hold off. And the other is that visually it's so much lighter, like literally brighter. I mean, you've been complaining about the horror look for a long time. And, it's always so dull and dark, and it's just the kind of... It's the way that horror looks, as I was describing in the discussion on weapons. The thing about the house turns into a horror house when she gets there. Well, the lights go down. But here, the film is a very, very effective horror that also knows how to keep the lights on at certain points and make things look beautiful and to play with the difference between light and dark and things. And even when it gets dark, it's using it well. It's not just dulling things. It's playing with shadow. It's hiding things behind kind of obscured, panes of glass and things like that. I think visually it has a very good sensibility.
I love it. And actually a couple of things. One of the things that I thought of at first was that it was different from a lot of films of this type, which you feel are written by city kids who just have a horror of nature. Right? So, a lot of these horror films that are set in a cottage in the outskirts of town or in the forest or whatever, nature is made to be horror. Yeah. So, they're scared of trees and of leaves and of anything that moves. And, yeah. And actually, I thought this film was interesting as well because it is set in that kind of milieu, right? But it's not, the horror doesn't come from the wild or nature you do get the thing with the dead rats, but they're rats above a ceiling light or something. It's not like a snake or a wolf or yeah.
Well, and the opening horror tone is set with the scene of the dogs.
Yes.
But that aside,
the failure with the film for me is that it has this whole background story about a cult. Yeah, and the chapel having sunk and the cult dispersing. And then, of course, there's some kind of magic attached to it. And I didn't quite get that backstory. Yeah, I don't know if you did.
There were things, I didn't want to put myself in the position of Jose going, I just don't get the magic. How does magic work? But I did kind of feel like, actually, I'm lacking explanation on a little bit of this. And I mostly went with the flow. But, in comparison to Weapons, which you were complaining about, how does this work and stuff, I actually felt much more sort of unsteady on my understanding of this. Although I did think that it was easy enough to go with the flow of it, nonetheless.
I definitely went with the flow of it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, when you settle down and begin to think about it, right, what is that neighbor? What is his role in the cult? You have the video where he was married in the cult, But
it is interesting that this and the other, as I mentioned, Australian horror movie we recently saw, both rely on videotapes watched of occults.
Yes.
Sort of procedures.
Yes.
Maybe there's something that Australians are particularly scared of in this respect, or maybe they just don't like VHS tape.
Anyway, I didn't get that, and you think it's some kind of foundation or spark or plot device so that this inescapable merging of bodies can begin to happen, right? But I wish they'd given a better excuse. What did the cult do or call upon or enact that it then leads to the thing that if you drink this water, you're going to merge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't lack of explanation because I think you get enough. I think from this what we see of the cult in that tape is a wedding ceremony, essentially. And it's a very particular occulty kind of wedding ceremony, but it's obvious that's what it is. And then it involves going underground to that cave and doing the ritual. And that image of the two people back to back, the Zeus was scared of it imagery that you mentioned before, Plato imagery, is there. And that's kind of all I need from that, like to say this is the particular interest of this cult and that's what they're about.
Well, I needed more, because then you wonder, well, the gay guy who is the villain of the piece, I suppose, is he the merging of himself or his partner? I mean, there's this bit of dialogue where he talks about how, he and his partner were together and then he left, and,
I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he is. I mean, because I think he is, a merging. He's the one in the video, right? And so we see a merging having been completed, and he's obviously very happy with it. And he says, when she's seeing the tape and having all this explanation revealed to her on video, and then he turns up, he goes, "This is the hardest part. You get through it, and it's so wonderful. It's amazing." So like he must have gone through it, and then I think even when she's running off, I think maybe you hear him speak with kind of both voices, the way that she /he does at the end. So I'm pretty sure that's his vibe.
Anyway, to me that is a bit of a problem in the film, in the sense that I wish it was clearer and it had more resonance. Yeah. But I liked, I went with it and I liked it very much.
Well, I think it's important that the focus ultimately stays on it being about the couple's decisions, the way they feel about the other, their decisions, and their decision to blend, rather than kill themselves and prevent this from happening. So even if you don't understand, or if it's not fully explained to your satisfaction, mechanisms or whatever, or the backstory of the church, like the real focus is on those characters.
The thing is that everything else is so neat, and lends itself so well to the core thematics of the film, that the other things not merging so well just become a bit of a niggle. So I suppose, I'm talking about it in terms of, I don't know, levels of, how good the film is, right? Because I think it's really, really good, right? And I think it could have been even more if all of the things kind of cohered, really. Because, for example, I mean, the thing about, they begin to unite and then they cut themselves, with, that electric saw, which risks kind of mutilating them, and, and it's bloody and it's painful and so on, right? Like, I mean, that kind of lends itself so interestingly and well to a reading of, what people do to their own relationships, right? Like, they'd rather lose a piece of themselves or mutilate themselves rather than let themselves kind of, become part of a couple, really.
Yeah.
So
that's very important that they're never husband and wife, because they're not married,
yes.
and they keep on correcting people. We're just partners,
yes.
boy partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Really important.
So I think all of those actions really lend themselves so interestingly to a reading of the themes of the film, whereas the backstory
is less satisfying.
Yeah, to me, or maybe rich. I just didn't get it. Maybe I blinked at a certain point and missed something that, that often happens. So the fault might be with me. But, the backstory and the spark to the plot device leaves me with unanswered questions, whereas the other things don't, right? Or even, for example, the scene where they begin to have sex, and they get stuck, on each other, which is funny, It's both funny and gross, and actually, interestingly as well, because you actually do get a flash of penis, which I thought was very unusual, really, in a film of that type. So that kind of lends itself to such interesting speculation. Yeah, what does it mean? Kind of, because men historically, always had like this fear, vagina dentata, castration anxiety, So what does it mean to be unable to kind of pull out? Or and the pain of pulling out. So obviously orgasm is also seen as a little death. So you pull out, you die. What does it mean? Or I'm free associating here. But that's such an interesting thing, right? And again, it lends itself, to the thematics of the film, whilst being funny and horrifying, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, his character, the Dave Franco character, is... it's really interesting. The film would be such a different film if the power dynamic was the other way around. And he
Yes.
was the one who controlled when she could go. And
Completely.
Completely different. And it would be much more horrifying.
Yeah.
It plays much more as a comedy when he's the one who kind of suffers all that. But it's also... It's definitely...
Let me interrupt, because I just want to elaborate a little bit on
Yeah.
what you're saying. Because it's a foundational comedy. So I remember reading this discussion between Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn, and George Cukor. And it's the scene, I think, in Keeper of the Flame, where Spencer Tracy sleepwalks and ends up in her bed, right? In Katharine Hepburn's bed. And, so they had all this discussion. No, because, kind of, it's too creepy, right? Like, whether he's sleepwalking or not, for a man to go in a sleeping woman's bed, right, is like, whereas if she goes onto his bed, if he goes into... So they devised this scene where she goes to brush her teeth, he sleepwalks into her empty bed, and then she goes into bed unsuspecting, and then it's funny, right? But if he goes into her bed while she's there, it's creepy.
Yeah.
Right? So, those gender dynamics and power dynamics are always at play. Yeah, and comedy works,
Comedy is very sensitive to that.
to those things. Yes, exactly.
But here, his character is really a lot about kind of impotence. So he can't or won't, or some combination of, refuses to have sex with her, and he's unable to. I mean, we do see he's kind of unable to get it up. Sorry babe, I drank too much is an excuse that comes out. She's frustrated that this won't happen, and then when the sort of the demon, what have you, gets inside him, suddenly he's switched on, and he can't keep himself away.
Yes.
And this sort of internal beast emerges.
It's like a magnet.
Yeah, which is, well, it's kind of relatable for one thing. I mean,
Yes.
we've all had that kind of feeling.
Yes.
It's also kind of slightly threatening, although she's in a position where she wants it, although she doesn't want it at school, where she's working. I mean, I think that actually the film could really kind of misstep playing that scene as well. I think it works really well. Like,
Yes.
it doesn't ever feel like, basically rape, threatening, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it handles that very sensitively. I think it's quite a delicate thing to do, probably.
Yes. And also, visually is the wrong word, because I think it's a thing of direction and not just how an image works. So how an image works within an overall strategy of direction. So, for example, the shower scene, where you first begin to get kind of a physical connection between them that is out of their control, where she's driving the car and he's turning in the shower to whatever direction that she's turning, and he feels like completely out of control, and he attributes it to anxiety, right? I thought that was beautifully shot. I mean,
and edited.
Kind of, often from overhead, right, like where you see the full body turning and you see the loss of control, and of course he's naked, which makes it kind of even more of a loss of control,
and the sound
of a
effects,
vulnerable.
He slams viciously against the wall, and the sound effects accentuate it. You feel how out of control he is and how in control she is, not knowing it.
Yes, it's wonderful. And there are just like beautiful things in the film. I mean, that moment where they're in the cave, and the camera pulls down below the waterline to show you what's underneath. I mean, I thought that was like so creepy and scary, and and in fact, you never see what's underneath. You just see his reflection, right? So kind of, I thought that was beautifully done. Really, that you incite this kind of creepiness and terror and dread, but kind of you don't show what it's due to.
Ultimately, it's a happy ending.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, you are thinking in the film, how is this going to end? And I was sort of thinking, I've got to see this transformation happen. Like, not that I would feel shortchanged, because maybe there's another appropriate ending the film could reach, but I'm kind of thinking, once it's in play, that these people cannot keep themselves from getting to each other. I mean, when they're awake, they kind of can, but when they're asleep or when they're kind of weak, whatever, like the monsters kind of take over and draw them together. And because this is just going to go on and on and on, it's going to get worse and worse. Like, surely we have to see this melding happen. So I'm very glad that it went that far,
Yeah, though it leaves questions, right? I mean, how are you meant to see this merging of a heterosexual couple into one being, right? Because the film leaves her on a happy note. Yeah, that's what happened, and it looks good, right? And her parents are coming over.
Yeah, and the house is in order.
And
It's
the house is in
beautiful. Like,
order.
that's our indication that things have gone well.
Have gone well. And yet, if things are so well, why is the guy next door so unhappy and manipulative? And, you know, why does he also want to merge with her? Right? Like, you see, this is what I mean about the film being good, but...
Do you think he wanted to merge with her?
Yes, I mean...
I thought he was really about, like, when you two get together, you find... Like, he believes in your other half. He has his other half and has blended with him. He wants her to have what he has.
Okay, well, maybe I'm misreading the scene.
That's what I saw in it.
But wasn't there an element where the
he cuts her arm open, which is what
Yes.
you see happen in that tape. But I think, to me, I read that as he's doing that to make sure it works for them.
Oh, so you think he's doing it as an act of kindness?
Well, he sees it as that, or that's sort of like basically he's not trying to get in to get in her body, as it were. I think he's doing it like for them. Like, this will be good for you. This is the ultimate happiness. You will enjoy this sort of thing.
Okay, well, I think there are
Or
things...
maybe he just thinks like there's no avoiding it now that you've started, and you have to see it through.
Those things remain unresolved for me in an unsatisfying way, right? Because you look at that scene, you look at, what was it, those two women in the grotesque women in the cave that hadn't quite merged.
I think they're supposed to be the missing couple from the start. So it is a man and a woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and why haven't they merged? And yeah, like
Sure,
there's too many unresolved things for me. Maybe, you know, it's a film that you need to watch again. So it's one of those films that I loved it on a surface level. Yeah, and I think it's kind of a rich film in all kinds of ways, but that I also have all these little niggles with.
Yeah. Maybe the couple that becomes the demonic monster in the cave didn't merge because of the knife in the neck. Like, they tried to stop it.
Ah, that could be.
And that's like the one obvious difference, isn't it, between them and the successful couple, as it were.
Sure, that could very well be it.
But that's something you have to just like let the film sort of have in a way.
Sure.
I mean, the film ultimately
that's the
wants to
kind of
have its
thing-
big scary monster, and it gets one.
Well, that's the kind of thing that you kind of let go on a first viewing. But actually, if it's a better film, it should provide answers on a second viewing.
Maybe so.
But anyway, I thought, what a fantastic directorial debut.
Yeah.
And what a fun film, I thought.
Yeah, really good fun. Good date film.
Yes. All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, if you're in a loving, healthy relationship, definitely go and see it. And they'll give you food for thought. And it might strengthen your relationship.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you very much for listening. We're eavesdropping at the movies, and we are on
Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and YouTube Music. On social media, we're on Facebook and Twitter at Eavesdrop Movies, and Blue Sky, eavesdropping.bsky.social, and the website is eavesdroppingatthemovies.com.
Thank you very much for listening.
Bye-bye.